It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And this is CarEdge Live for Thursday, March 13th, with your hosts, me, Ray, and, well, the good-looking guy wearing that great-looking hoodie, my handsome son, Zach. How are you today?
Happy Thursday, y'all. Doing well, Dad. I've got a half marathon on Saturday, so I'm getting a little pre-race anxiety here. Can't wait to see you at the finish line. Now, folks, if we can help you out with anything, CarEdge.com. My dad and I founded this company over 5 years ago, and we are determined and destined to help you buy your next car. Check it out. Learn so much more back at CarEdge.com. We also have a sponsor for today's show, DeleteMe. We'll be talking about them in about 5 to 10 minutes. Dad, the big story.
Wait. I have one quick question. Can I take a cab to the finish line? I mean, I don't have to run to the finish line, do I?
You don't have to run, but it's gonna be busy in the city this weekend. We'll see if you're able to take a cab. Hopefully, you're there.
Well, where the hell is the finish line? How close to my hotel?
We're taking this conversation offline. BMW, Dad, what are they doing? They are absorbing the tariff costs in the United States on Mexican-built models. Tariff talk is the talk of the town because tariffs have the potential to impact new car prices by anywhere from, depends who you talk to, $3,000, $8,000, $9,000, $12,000 are the range of estimates we've got from various analysts. And Dad, BMW is the first automaker to come out and take a stand here and say, you know what? We are not passing along those costs to consumers. We're going to eat them.
For a short period of time.
All right. Let us know the details.
Okay. For a short period, until May 1st. And at that point, they figure they're going to be full of eating tariffs. They're not going to want to eat any more tariffs. And those tariffs are eventually going to make their way to the consumers who are buying Mexican-built 3 Series and 3 Series sedans and the 2 Series coupes. So yes, they are willing to eat the extra costs, but only for a month.
Do you think this is something we are going to see other automakers do, Dad, that they are going to step up and they're going to say, you know what? Our prices aren't going to go up by 25%. You're not going to have to deal with this, consumers. We are going to eat this, even if it is just for a month. Or do you think that this is going to be abnormal? We're only going to see BMW do this and the others aren't going to follow suit?
It depends on the economic strength of a particular manufacturer. I think most of them will try to do it in the short term because, well, their thinking could be, hey, it could start today, it could be gone tomorrow. There doesn't seem to be any real continuity as to how long they're going to run. Nobody seems to know. So I think what many of the manufacturers are going to do is they're going to bet that it's going to be short term. If it turns out they are wrong and it's longer term, at that point, then they'll turn around and they'll start passing on those extra costs to their dealers and ultimately to the consumers, because they can't afford to eat an extra 25% in their cost to produce the vehicles forever. Okay. Even though they make a lot of money, they don't make enough money to be able to eat an extra 25% in the cost to produce those vehicles. So I think the wise choice for most manufacturers would be to eat it as long as you can, with the hope that there is some stability and that this stuff ends up being short term. But it's so hard to tell.
Now, what do you make of Barron's comment here? Barron, thanks for the kind contribution. They aren't eating the tariffs. They're saying 1 month. They're saying they'll do that for 1 month while they're selling the inventory that was already in America non-tariffed. It is a joke.
No. The vehicles that are going to come in that are replacing the vehicles that are already here for the month of April, when the tariffs go into effect on, I believe it's April 4th. They're saying that for those vehicles produced to replace the vehicles that are already here, they're going to absorb the cost of that additional expense. So it's not, they don't have to raise the price on the stuff that's already here. and they're willing to absorb that extra cost for a month. They have a really good idea as to how many 3 Series sedans and 2 Series coupes are scheduled to be built in Mexico during the month of April. They know exactly what it's going to cost them. So it's, yes, you're right. It doesn't impact vehicles that are already here, but it'll impact those vehicles that are built during the time that the tariffs are in effect, if they ever go into effect, or for however long they may go into effect.
That it's important to understand how many days supply of inventory BMW currently has, because like you said, the tariffs only impact the vehicles that come in during that period of time. BMW has an 84 days supply of inventory nationwide right now. So that means it's going to take them almost 3 months to sell through all of the available inventory they have. So tariffs won't impact prices for at least 84 days after the day that they actually go into effect.
Well, but we don't know if they have an 84-day supply of the 3 Series sedan that's built in Mexico, or the 2 Series coupe that's built in Mexico. And let's face it, the 2 Series coupe isn't all that popular. It's not their most popular vehicle, but a 3 Series is one of their bread and butter vehicles, that and the 5 Series. So it could have a major impact. Do they have an 84-day supply? I don't know.
Here it is, Dad. Here's in our area, 135-day supply. Or where am I? This is, 20746. So, this is the 2025 3 Series 330i. Has a 135-day supply here locally in the Washington, D.C. area. So I don't know. I think BMW probably has more inventory for those vehicles than we give them credit. At least that's my supposition.
And it could be a good supposition. We really don't know. But yeah, it could be less than 84 days. It could be more than 84 days. But if the tariffs last past May 1st, then whatever comes in of those models that comes in from Mexico after those dates, they're going to come in and cost the dealers more, and ultimately cost the American consumers more.
And again, to be clear, the big news this morning is the fact that BMW is fronting or covering those costs for at least that 1 month. Supposedly, this could just be some big PR strategy. Talk about PR strategy, baby. The team over at DeleteMe knows PR. That's why they are the sponsor of today's show. Dad, data brokers are out there selling our information day in and day out. Things like our phone number, social security number, home address, and so much more are sold online, and they're available to marketers, scammers, and everyone in between. Now, DeleteMe, the sponsor of today's show, helps you take control over your data. DeleteMe removes your personal information from hundreds of data brokers on your behalf. My dad and I both personally use DeleteMe. You can get started today with DeleteMe for 20% off with the code CarEdge. Just go to joindeleteme.com/CarEdge or click the link in the top of the description down below. Every month, Dad, DeleteMe is looking out for both you and I, removing all sorts of our personal information from the interwebs. We appreciate and thank DeleteMe for sponsoring our show.
Yes, let's keep those data brokers and scammers as far away as possible, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, Pops, let's switch gears here a little bit. We talked about this just a bit yesterday with Julian Lewis from JC Lewis. Spring optimism boosts U.S. automobile dealer sentiment despite weak profits and growing costs. I thought this was really fascinating, this chart from the analysis that Cox Automotive did. How would you describe your profits over the past 3 months? We are at some of the lowest levels. We're at the lowest levels since the pandemic started back in 2020 in terms of dealer sentiment and profits. What do you make of this, Pops?
Well, 2 things. One, I'd want to know when exactly this survey took place. Had the threat of tariffs or anything else bled into any of these
late January and early February is when the
so they have not. So if they see profits going down, and the idea in their minds is that they will continue to go down, and this was late January, early February my suspicion would be that they're going to think it's going to be worse if you were to do the survey, say, today.
Yeah.
So businesses run on knowing, having a real good understanding of what conditions are going to be. And most businesses, any business, wants to understand and wants to have some sense of stability. And right now, all businesses seem to be confronted with the fact that there's just an inordinate amount of instability, which is going to impact their sentiment as to how they think things could go moving
I
forward.
don't think this is a tariff conversation though, Dad, because the responses to this were pre, the imminence of those tariffs going truly into effect. This is an inventory and a customer demand story. I mean, unless you feel differently. I mean, we're going to get the numbers next quarter and they are going to be significantly lower. And then it's going to be an inventory, customer demand, and tariff story. But I don't think it's fair to characterize the, dwindling dealer sentiment around profitability as being about tariffs. This has been going down ever since the pandemic.
I said this was before the real threat of tariffs. I'm just thinking it would be lower moving forward. So if they were to do that survey today or do that survey at the end of this month, I think the dealer sentiment towards profits would be lower than it is when they did this particular survey. And yes, part of it is an affordability issue. Part of it is an over excess amount of inventory for some of the brands. And so, that's going to impact how dealers see profitability moving forward. I would think there has to be some brands like Stellantis, for example, where we have seen a major decline in average transaction prices, that because of assistance from Stellantis, that Stellantis dealers are probably feeling a bit better about profit moving forward than they had been in the past.
Yeah, so as always, it's a different story depending on the manufacturer. However, I thought that data was very compelling because, again, there's optimism as an industry, like an automotive industry. However, there's a reality, which is lower profits, which means buyers market more opportunity for consumer. Oh,
and we heard that yesterday from Julian, where they are volume driven again. They are not as profit driven as they had been. They're more volume driven.
Sign of the times.
I think so.
From Matthew here. Thank you, Matthew, for the kind contribution. Me thinking about the Germans, realizing their tariffed M2 is more than an M3 or M4 because they cheaped out and made it in Mexico, pure German word that I don't know how to pronounce.
Schadenfreude.
There we go. Don't know what that means, but thank you, Matthew. We appreciate the kind contribution. Dad, another story that I thought was interesting. I don't know if you saw this. This came from JD Power. They did their dealership service scores. Did you see this?
Yeah, I did.
Did anything in here surprise you?
Well, it doesn't surprise me that Porsche is at the top of the list as far as how their customers feel about servicing their vehicles at dealers. Because we had this conversation the other day. Porsche people, for the most part, are really particular about their cars. And they, rather than actually drive the damn thing to the dealership, they'll in many cases flatbed them, even for such a simple task as just an oil change. So if the dealership is helping to coordinate the transporting of the vehicle and doing the work and taking all those concerns off the shoulders of their Porsche customers, then absolutely Porsche customers are going to love those service departments. Conversely, where you have brands that don't cater to their customers as well as a Porsche might, their customers are going to be less than enthused, I would think.
So here are the rankings, folks. This is the second year in a row that JD Power has done a customer service index study for dealership service departments. So it's all about the 5 areas of service: quality, how well the service quality, the service advisor, vehicle pickup, service facility, and service initiation. This is over 55,000 responses, Pops, of owners and lessees of 1 to 3-year-old vehicles. And there you go. Porsche winning by a mile. Lexus at number 2, Cadillac at number 3, Acura at number 4, Infiniti at number 5. Infiniti at number 5 to me. And then you go all the way down. Yeah.
Infiniti could be at number 5 because, well, there's so few Infiniti customers left, and they're not selling nearly as many Infinitis as they used to.
That could have something to do with it.
Yeah.
But I think it also has to do with the fact that they must have done well against service quality, how well the service advisor was, the vehicle pickup, things along those lines. The mass market brand that did best, there you go. You can see it's Subaru, then Mini, Dad, which is super interesting to see. Honda, Buick, Mazda. And just to go up for a second here, not to harp on Stellantis too much, but look at that Maserati finishing worst in terms of service. It's not a good look.
Romeo in the lower portion of it. And the reason Mini service customers score so high is that is really a niche brand. And the service person, just the way they operate the dealerships and how they carry themselves, it's such a niche brand that service advisors oftentimes are part of groups that mini clubs where they go on these long drives and they have meetups, and it's just there's a camaraderie amongst mini owners, and that translates into how I had customers that wouldn't dream of getting their Mini serviced anywhere other than at our Mini store because we knew their idiosyncrasies. They knew our idiosyncrasies. They took care of us. We took care of them. It is just such a niche group of people from all ages, but mostly older. That doesn't surprise me on the Mini side of things. And then again, they ain't selling that many Minis anymore. So that's the other thing, I believe.
What do you make of this, Dad? The lowest rated service department was ... for a mass market Ram. So again, and look who's also down there, Dodge. Interestingly, Toyota is fairly low here as well, below the segment average. But Ram coming in as your worst service experience. Yucky.
But that's Dodge and Ram and Chrysler. They have never been strong players when it comes to things like this. And Toyota does and doesn't surprise me. And the reason I say it doesn't. When you are selling as many cars as they are, and you are having as many serious recall issues as they have had in the past couple of years, it can create a situation where from the time you call to get an appointment to when you actually get that appointment is less than what you had hoped as the customer. And that, when you can't get that appointment, that normally doesn't bode well for high service scores.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that from 43 years worth of experience. If you can't get the customer in when they have a problem, your service department's not going to score well. One of the companies that I did work for, as you know, you could call and you could make an appointment. It was fine. Or you could just show up. And we had so many service loaners that it was just stop, drop, and go. Whenever you needed, so you would come in, you'd stop in, you'd drop off the car, and you'd be riding out a brand new something else service loaner. It was you didn't need an appointment, you just showed up. Now, the only issue with that is that you don't always get the vehicle back in as timely a manner as you would like because, well, I don't know, everybody was just stop, dropping, and going. And so you suddenly had more cars to service than you normally would have because, well, you didn't schedule these appointments. They just showed up.
True, true. Well, it is an interesting thing to think about when you purchase a new vehicle or a used vehicle where you're going to get it serviced. And those JD Power rankings I thought were interesting. One
Yeah,
other
absolutely.
story that I wanted to cover today, Dad, which is interest rates. A car dealership guy was tweeting about this. We've talked about it a lot recently.
Yes.
It's just shocking. I wanted to come back to it. The average used vehicle APR in February was 14.73%. We were talking about a little bit, with Julian yesterday. Dealer floor plan interest rates are also higher right now than they have been as well. So, I mean, it's just hard to wrap your head around. Hard for me to wrap my head around a 15% APR buying that used vehicle, and that's average in today's market.
And it's hard for some of our commenters to wrap their head around it because it is an average. I say, well, go to your credit union. My credit union is 5.79%. Okay, for top tier credit. Not everybody's top tier credit. Okay. Yeah. Credit unions base your interest rate on what you qualify for based on your previous credit history and what your credit score is. So it might be 579 for the guy that's a 780 or higher, but it could be 10.9 for somebody that's a 620. So this is an average. I hate to break it to people out there, but there are more people out there that have fair credit as opposed to the people that have exceptional credit. So when you take all those rates and you average them, 14.73% on a pre-owned car. And one of the reasons that it would be higher is because we are selling more and more older pre-owned cars that in the past you couldn't finance them because they were too old or had too many miles. But today, even though they're much older and have more miles than banks would have liked, banks are stepping up and financing these vehicles. Well, if you're going to finance a much older vehicle at high miles with a greater risk of issues developing, to protect yourself, you're going to charge a higher rate. And so that's why the average is now up to 14.73%. You buy that 1 or 2 year old overpriced used car, you might get it for a 6 or 7% interest rate. But if you're buying that 9-year-old car with 120,000 miles on it, you might be getting it for 17 or 18%.
Let's look at this. Let's look at this really quickly. We were looking at BMW 3 Series at the beginning of the show because the new ones coming in from Mexico will not be seeing price increases as a result of tariffs for 30 days. Well, now let's look at some used ones. Here's what is this? It's 2017, 2025, 8-year-old BMW 3 Series, only 35,000 miles on it. This one, Dad, 123,000 miles on it, 12 years old. We'll click on this one for the moment. We'll look at the 2017. Let's go down to that monthly payment calculator. Whoops, here it is. Out the door price, cash down loan term, 8% financing's got you at $393 a month payment. Let's put that up.
And you're not getting 8% on an 8-year-old BMW. You're not.
There you go. There's your 15%, which is your average. You're up to $461 a month. And we're not even factoring in insurance costs, depreciation, maintenance, etc. Obviously, that's all the information we have back on the CarEdge.com website. But yeah, that's a big change in monthly payment, getting up to $461 instead of $331. It's $130 a month difference if you're average.
Well, I'd like to believe that I'm well below average, but that's besides the point. Can I mention something?
Sure.
I read somewhere today that you and CarEdge were quoted in the USA Today. Now, I know you don't like to toot your own. Okay, that's BS. You love tooting your own horn. But you have failed to mention that so far today. And I think it's important for our audience out there to understand that the type of information we're able to provide is valuable enough that, well, a publication such as USA Today, and I know that's mainstream media, so we really shouldn't believe anything in mainstream media, but when they mention CarEdge, you can believe it, damn it, trust me. When they place a value on what it is that we're able to offer. I think that really helps to legitimize exactly what it is that we do.
Thank you, Pops. Yeah, big press week recently, or big past couple of weeks from a press perspective, with the Today Show, Consumer Reports publishing some CarEdge stuff, and then here with USA Today, they published an article this morning, The Hidden Costs of Owning a Car, How Fuel Maintenance and Depreciation Add Up. They reference folks from AAA, so it's great to be in the company of AAA, and then they use the data from CarEdge. You can see right there, online car marketplace CarEdge pulled together a list of the least expensive cars to maintain based on an updated sample of 175 models and 174 luxury popular models and 174 luxury models. And you can see here, and gang, this is actually early, and yeah, there you go, Pops, a quote from me in USA Today. Gang, this is actually, we gave them the data early. We are updating the CarEdge website with brand new refreshed cost of ownership data, maintenance data, brand new 2025 models, and even getting our hands on the 2026 models that are right around the corner. So that's coming very soon on the CarEdge website. We gave the data to USA Today early so they could publish this story. So yeah, pretty cool, man, seeing the continued recognition that CarEdge is getting. We appreciate everyone that, you know, shares and spreads the word about what we're doing.
You know, the reality is we're just not a couple of YouTube knuckleheads. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind what we do.
Yeah.
That leads to some pretty incredible information that is made available to the American consumer out there when it comes time to navigating the process and knowing what it is that you should be considering when you are considering different vehicles.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up, Pops. We appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who, you know, I mean, this only exists because of our community. That being said,
Yes.
we will call it a show today, folks. If we can help you out with anything, check out CarEdge.com. If you want to get the best deal on a new or used car and you save thousands of buckaroos, go to CarEdge.com. A few things to call out in particular. One is, if you want to skip the dealership and have us do it for you, we have two services, our negotiation expert and our car buying service. Check them out. If you want to know dealer invoice price, you can get that for free back on CarEdge.com. If you want help selling your car, we have a solution for that as well. And if you click on research right there, one of my favorite things we've ever built, the free window sticker tool. You can get any vehicles free window sticker just by clicking on that, or see what other community members and our CarEdge concierges have been able to get in terms of deals by clicking on see what others paid, and all the current available lease deals or finance and cash incentives on your best new car deals. Check it all out. It's back on CarEdge.com. We're back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern, and I'm sure we'll have something interesting to talk about.
Well, you know, I'm sure somebody in the automotive industry will do something either that they shouldn't have done, or they'll do something that is of great interest to you and I and all of those who follow CarEdge Live.
We appreciate y'all. We'll be back here tomorrow. Love you, Dad.
Yep. Love you too, handsome. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.